If you've been successful at losing some amount of weight, but you find yourself at a standstill with some extra stubborn pounds, then you're going to want to listen to my video today, because I'm going to discuss 3 reasons other than food why your weight loss may be at a standstill. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Amina. I'm a physician and a health coach. I help you lose weight by eating more in order for you to achieve ultimate health and vitality. All right, we're going to dive right into it. Now, I'm going to start with a story. Well, not a story, but basically, have you ever heard of a situation in medicine where, this is gross, but I'm going to say it anyway, we give patients stool transplants to help them overcome a bad infection of their colon? Yes, that is something that is actually done. Well, I'll tell you how this ties into the whole weight issue. What has been noticed in patients who got stool transplants from persons who were overweight is that the recipient of stool transplant from an overweight person would gain weight. And what was noticed, conversely, in patients who were overweight but they got stool transplants from persons who were thin is that they started losing weight. And so that prompted scientists to think, oh, wow, the microbiome or the makeup of the bacteria in the gut can determine someone's weight. Now, we sort of know that already too, because in agriculture, antibiotics are used and actually abused in order to help animals gain weight, for them to get fat quickly. Antibiotics are given. And so what we know is that the makeup, right, of the different types of bacteria in the intestines really plays a significant role in someone's weight. So those germs, they're not just kind of hanging out, just, they're not just inert hanging out. They are doing things and they are affecting our metabolism. Additionally, I specialize in infectious diseases, and anecdotally, I've had patients tell me that while on a prolonged course of antibiotics for a super complicated infection, they would gain weight. And sometimes you might think, oh, they're maybe a little less active and so on, but really we know that because of depletion of good bacteria from antibiotics, so people who take multiple rounds of antibiotics, they tend to gain weight compared to somebody who has not had an alteration of their good bacteria by antibiotics. So yes, another thing as well with the diet is that we know that depending on what you eat, if you're eating more foods that feed the bad bacteria, the type of bacteria that promote weight gain, then you will gain weight. If you're eating more of the type of foods that feed good bacteria, then you're more likely to maintain weight, or if there's a weight issue, you can lose weight, as we have seen in persons who have had a transplant of stool from somebody with a healthy mix of bacteria. So generally speaking, for somebody who might be at a standstill with the weight, one thing to consider is, have you been taking multiple rounds of antibiotics? Is it that you get colds every month and you go to the doctor and get a prescription for antibiotics every single time? These multiple rounds of antibiotics may be having a negative impact on your good bacteria and somehow contributing to weight gain. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, in terms of, okay, you might think, well, what do? You want to eat more of the foods that feed the good bacteria, so the good bacteria thrive, and therefore they will crowd out the bad types of bacteria. The good bacteria, they love fiber, vegetables, fruits, anything real but plant-based, compared to the bad bacteria that tend to thrive from very refined starches, like you would get in cookies and chips and so on. And they also thrive on artificial sugars, artificial sweeteners, and also real sugar as well, and fructose and so on. So that's how you sort of want to adjust your diet. So you feed the good bacteria, and then if you find yourself taking lots and lots of antibiotics, you need to reevaluate whether or not you actually need to be on these antibiotics, because we know that a lot of infections are caused by viruses and not antibiotics. So that's one thing. Imbalances of your good bacteria, the intestinal bacteria, can or may be contributing to weight gain or lack of weight loss. Second thing is sleep deprivation. A lot of people struggle with getting good quality sleep. So many factors such as bright screens, exposure to light, and so on and so forth. But one that is often overlooked is the presence of a condition called sleep apnea. And that's a condition where there are multiple pauses in breathing while you sleep. It's very common in persons who are overweight because of excess fat around the neck and the airway. So it squeezes when you go to sleep, and there's loss of tone. You know, you're sedate, so there's relaxation, and so you can have squeezing of the airway, and it can actually collapse, and so you have a pause of breathing. This can be made even worse depending on if you're taking sleeping medicine or other medicine like painkillers and so on, that can cause you to be in a very deep sleep so that you're actually not waking up in time to take a breath. So most people, of course, will eventually wake up, but depending on how severe the sleep apnea is, you can have high levels of not just carbon dioxide, but stress hormones building up in your body as well because of these multiple pauses, causing the body, the cells of the body, to be starved of oxygen too frequently. And so this stressful situation results in the production of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and also the sleep apnea itself, because it has a negative effect on the heart, and together can contribute to a situation where the metabolism is off. You can say insulin resistance, and that can promote weight gain. All those factors together can promote weight gain or just cause your weight loss to be at a standstill. You're just not losing anymore. And it could be because there's sleep apnea, which in many people is undiagnosed, especially somebody who might not. Maybe you might not have a sleeping partner, and so there's nobody to actually notice those pauses, and then also notice when you suddenly gasp and maybe wake up or startle a little bit in the middle of the night. So something to check out. It's something that you can go to the doctor and get a specific testing for that. And then, of course, there are devices that are available to treat sleep apnea. But even better, because most people or many people don't like these devices, they're very tight and uncomfortable, is just to really, maybe use that temporarily to help you get over the hump while you can start losing weight and then getting more of that pressure off your airway. Now, of course, there are people who have a normal weight that have sleep apnea. So that's why a test is essential to figure out for sure if you have sleep apnea. They have sleep studies where you can measure the amount of pauses and the length and so on and so forth. Okay, so sleep deprivation or sleep apnea, the lack of quality sleep, because overall it's very stressful on the body, and stress means you produce a stress hormone. And then the third one, it's just stress in general. Stress from work, stress from life, stress from family, just stress in general. Stress is a massive problem in the world these days. I'm smiling, but it's really not funny. Since the pandemic and just all the drama, there's just so much stress. But another big reason for stress, I think, is essentially caring too much about what people think. That is a big problem. A lot of young people now, and of course it has to do with the advent of social media and just comparing, just how we find ourselves now, just all these pictures, these pretty pictures, and just the whole comparison syndrome. And that's just causing so much stress. And with stress, like I said, comes increased production of the stress hormone, the steroid hormone cortisol. And we know for a fact that steroid hormones, because they put you in fight or flight mode, they're going to sort of trigger your body to get more glucose, sugar there in response for your muscles to work. And then there's the need for insulin and the whole vicious cycle where your body's just kind of be in that fat storage mode. So stress. There's a book that I love. It's one of the most gifted books because it has had such a positive impact. It's called The 4 Agreements. And one of the agreements in this book is don't take anything personally. And it just summarizes it here. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dreams. When you're immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. And I have to say, that's one of the things for me as I've gotten, the older I get, the less I care about what other people think. And it's one of the most liberating things to not care what people think. Like, it's so liberating because you're like, well, that's their business. You can't change how somebody thinks. And so you shouldn't care really too much, or at all, rather. That's what I'm saying. You shouldn't really care what they think. You just do your best. You just live your life as you know how to. And if it is that social media is causing you a lot of added stress and you feel the need, you're comparing and trying, having that stress of keeping up appearances, and put away social media and just start telling yourself that, what other people think, it has nothing to do with you, and you're causing yourself needless suffering. So I think that's one of the real things that if you can really get over that, it's not easy in this day and age, but it's definitely doable. And like I said, I am at a stage where I'm like, I don't really care, because it helps to when you have a lot, you're like busy and there's just a lot of things that you have to do. You just don't have time to care about what people think. So if you can evolve to become a person who doesn't care, then stress wouldn't be as impactful on you, and so you won't be constantly in this mode where you're producing all the stress hormones, which just prevents you from losing weight. So I hope you all found those 3 tips helpful. Of course, when in doubt about what could be going on, there are other hormonal issues, thyroid problems, estrogen problems, and so on, other real problems that could be lingering or undiagnosed. And so of course you see a doctor, get tested, and just kind of see what there is that could actually be immediately fixable. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again in my next video. Bye bye.